Are we the good guys? I used to think we were. Like everybody else, I was brought up in school to the Pledge of Allegiance and the history with a spin on it to make us appear to be the good guys, and loyalty and patriotism and the national anthem and all this stuff. You grow up thinking that kind of you're the good guys. But the more I read, the more I learn. I wonder, are we actually the good guys? I'm not so sure anymore. I've read up on this Iran conflict, and it seems like we may have started some of this. And maybe they have a good reason to hate us. Not that I condone any kind of violence or wars or killing or any of that stuff, but when you think about it, it looks like they have a reason to hate us. We started some of this stuff back 70 years ago between Britain and America. We actually went down there and messed up their politics. We took out their democratically elected president and reinstated the Shah, who was more favorable to allowing us to steal their oil, right? That was the whole problem we had with them. That's why we went there in the first place, because they nationalized their oil, which seems like a fair, idea to me. If it was my country, I would want to keep my oil for myself and benefit it from. Why not? But we decided we wanted to be greedy, America and Britain, and we took that. Okay, we took out their democratically elected president, and we reestablished the old president so that we could benefit from their oil. Sure, they were pissed. Of course they're pissed. Why wouldn't they be? I would be. Right? If someone came into our country and took out our president that we elected, well, that's a different question, because I might be actually happy with that right now. But, generally speaking, we don't want people messing with our business, right? That's our problem. We want, it's our problem. We should fix it. And that's the same with them. But they went in there and, we went in there, I should say, and we messed it up. And so, yeah, they hated us, and that started this whole issue. So, I wonder, are we really the good guys? Or are we the bad guys? To me, it seems like we should be able to, at this day and age, we got so many cool things, such advancements. We have so much knowledge about history and the mistakes that we made and the things we did right and things we did wrong, that we should be able to learn from all that stuff and start doing some things right. For example, with the situation in Iran, maybe we could admit our faults and the issues we did from 70 years ago. It wasn't us, it was our forefathers, right? But still, it was our problem. We created this situation. We can at least take responsibility for that part of it and maybe make right by it. Maybe at least admit that. Start making some apologies, maybe making some reparations, and come to the table fairly with that in mind, instead of just looking at the last 30 years and the bad things that have been done to us. Maybe look at the whole picture and come to a better resolution. See both sides, have some understanding, some compassion of where they're coming from. We're spending, $1 billion a day on this war. Why not take some of that money, all of that money even, and maybe offer that on the table as part of a deal? Because we stole that money for so long. Technically, to me, it seems like we owe them some money. Maybe I haven't done all the numbers, and that would take some pretty intelligent people to, way more than me, to be able to look at that stuff and figure out what that number equates to. But why not use some of that money for good instead of killing people, instead of, wasting bombs and deaths and all this chaos? It's just going to cause more chaos for generations to come. Why not use that money for some good and actually try to make this right, do the right thing by them, by us, and pay for our mistakes. If we did make mistakes, we can look at all that and admit to it and fix it and make right by it. It seems like that would be a better solution, don't you think?